Hi everyone, how's it going? My name's Jamie and let's talk autism. As you may or may not know, it's Autism Awareness Week this week, so what I've done is I've put up a status on Facebook asking my family and friends to comment just with their perceptions on autism, hopefully to get a few different perspectives and educate some people in the process. So without any further ado, let's get into it. I've got a few responses and a lot of them are quite large, so what I've done is I've kind of condensed them down into points. It'll make more sense as I'm doing the video. Just so that I'm not reading out similar comments and repeating myself, but everybody's still getting a say, if you know what I mean. I'll try as I'm reading out the comments to put them down on the bottom of the video, but I'm not going to promise anything. I'm not good with technology, so whether I will or won't, that's a mystery that remains to be solved. So the first point that was brought up is that autism isn't a one-size-fits-all condition. So a couple of people made this point. There was one comment said, autism has a huge mosaic of different insert word here. It's not one-size-fits-all. And there's another comment that says, it seems to have a range of effects and I see it as there being as many different experiences of it as there are people who have been placed in the autism category. Another one says, autism is unique in every circumstance, autism is different in every person, autism is a mass spectrum with people of different abilities and traits, some more obvious than others, but it doesn't mean the less obvious is not autism, nor should we feel belittled for it. So yeah, this is absolutely correct. I think each and every individual with autism has a completely different experience of it because there's so much range within the spectrum that each individual on the spectrum is equally as diverse as each individual who's not on the spectrum. Yeah, there's quite a huge range of different things that make up the autistic spectrum. So there might be some individuals who have more issues in a sensory area, but when it comes to communication, they're a bit more high functioning. Or there could be individuals who are literally the exact opposite, who have quite a few difficulties with communication, but are quite high functioning in a sensory area. That's just a little kind of overarching example. There's a lot more nuances to the autism spectrum than just sensory issues and communication issues, but that's a whole other video in itself. So the second point that seemed to be made a couple of times was that it needs an individual approach in everyone. One comment says, it's an individual experience calling for an individual approach to ensuring these people can function. That's not always easy when the education and medical establishments like everyone in nice and neat little categories. Another comment says it's not easy to understand and we need to support people to understand so that we reduce stigma and are more able to help instead of judge. But yeah, absolutely every individual with the condition will have unique triggers that will cause a meltdown or a shutdown. Meltdown and shutdown are two ways that autism can present itself. Shutdown tends to be where you shut down and go inside to get away from the trigger, and a meltdown can be kind of like acting out against the trigger. It's kind of like a fight or flight response kind of thing. It's always important to understand that meltdowns and shutdowns aren't tantrums in the typical sense, even though that a meltdown can sometimes present in a similar way to a tantrum. They usually stem from environmental factors that the individual on the ASD spectrum is having difficulty processing. But yes, if you figure out the trigger, the cause of the meltdown, it can be easier to work around the triggers or to even prevent a meltdown entirely. So the third point that was made is autism is not something that needs to be cured. The comment that goes along with that is autism is unique in every circumstance. Definitely not one size fits all and certainly not something to be cured. So this is one of the main reasons that the ASD community doesn't tend to want anything to do with the Autism Speaks charity, and I think this is a very important point to bring up, especially in Autism Awareness Week. We don't tend to want anything to do with Autism Speaks and anything that's kind of linked to them, such as the lighted up blue kind of thing, but essentially as a charity they've put out quite a lot of hurtful propaganda and things like that. There was an advert that they did a while back that was very harmful to the community, so I'm not going to go into much detail about it. If you're interested in looking it up, it's on YouTube, you can find it quite easily. But essentially they've always kind of advocated for a cure to cure the condition. curing autism is essentially curing our personality, because along with kind of curing the condition, you're curing the quirkiness, you're curing the funniness, the weird little things that we do that make us who we are. So yeah, it's not something that needs to be cured, it's something that needs to be understood. Because searching for a cure is insinuating that we need to be fixed when we're all actually quite fabulous. The fourth point that was made is autism is seeing the world through a different lens. So the comments that go along with this are, one of them says, autism is seeing things from a different angle, explaining things with no explanation. Someone with autism taught me that love needs no words. Another one says, autism is different in every person, it's seeing things differently, tasting things in different ways, communicating in different ways, but most of all, it shows unconditional love and beauty. It shows strength and determination to be all you can be for yourself, not for everyone else. There was another comment that says, the ability to see the world in an entirely different light, finding joy and happiness in things that a neurotypical person may find boring, sometimes being overwhelmed or misunderstood, and finding joy in routine and structure. Then the last comment that touched on this says, autism is trying to understand the unexplainable, a world full of quirks and literal thinking, mannerisms, misunderstanding and misreading. So again, I would say that this is a fairly accurate perception. We often process things quite literally, so we miss out sometimes on little nuances and little hints and stuff. But in the same way, this literal thinking we can use to kind of search out details and solutions that are often overlooked. So the next point that was made is that it's not all bad like it's often portrayed to be. So there was 2 comments that touched on this. This one's quite a long one, but I'm going to read it all out. I've already read out a part of it in one of the other sections, so I'll skip that bit out, but I'm going to read all this one out because it's from the perspective of another person on the ASD spectrum. So, autism is both a gift and a curse. It can have amazing qualities, but also ones that are less desirable to the general public and make us feel that we need to change to fit in. Autism has allowed me personally to see things differently, and though it's taken a long time to accept myself, I wouldn't be who I am or where I am in life without it. Yes, it can be hard, i.e. stigma of others and battling to get anywhere where others find it easy, but I'm grateful for it and want others to know that autism is amazing. But autism wouldn't be what it is without the people. The autistic people in our society who share their triumphs and hardships, for which I hope others can learn from to improve things across the board. And then the next comment that touches on this is, I think autism can be hard, but when you realise so many people are autistic and you didn't even know, you can realise how much easier it is for some people than the media portrays it as. So yeah, I think this is a very poignant point, because I personally wouldn't have myself any other way. Like, I'm weird, I'm quirky. Those are 2 traits that are often undesirable to the general public, but at the end of the day, the people who are worth anything to you will be the people who stick around and try to understand you despite your weirdness, despite your quirkiness. There's a lot more beauty in the ASD mind than we get given credit for. And society doesn't quite understand us just yet. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to change ourselves for society. Like, we need to change society for us. Because we live in a world that's kind of set up to benefit neurotypical people. Not intentionally, I'm not trying to say that it's an intentional thing, but a lot of workplace environments and a lot of ways that society works in general, they don't benefit us as neurodiverse individuals because we work in a completely different way to neurotypical people. But yeah, there's a lot of things to love about the autistic mind and the way that we express ourselves. And then the last point that was made is that it can be difficult for everyone involved. One comment says, I think I might have read this one out already, but as well as teaching us about uniqueness, it can also be really bloody tough for everyone. And another one, the next comment that I have for this is from the parents' point of view. It says, parents' side, a world where everyday quirks and incidents are the norm. Being called inside a classroom because your child has tried to be heard and no one can understand how to hear them properly. Being there to preempt a problem before there even is a problem to solve. Your child facing a day of bullies because you're there, backup, and can't be there, and the children of today have not been taught the rule of different does not mean less. being your child's everything to the level that being separated makes them cling that bit tighter, but knowing that if anyone ever could make it go away by waving a magic wand, that you wouldn't, because they're absolutely perfect and you wouldn't change them for the world, just the world in which they live in. I think one of the things that's been really interesting about this is that I've had so many different perspectives of it from so many different people who have had experience with the autistic community. So I've had things from parents, I've had things from teachers, I've had things from people on the autistic spectrum, I've had things from people who are friends with people with autism, have family that are on the ASD spectrum. So it's been really quite nice to get those different kind of areas of perspective. But yeah, it's been really interesting and eye-opening to see what other people perceive autism to be. So I love having conversations like this because it's interesting to find out other people's thought processes and other people's perceptions, because at the end of the day we all have a different perception, we all have a different way of thinking, we all have a different way of seeing things. So yeah. So I'm going to finish off by just saying thank you for everyone who actually participated in this. I wasn't expecting to get so many points made. I wasn't expecting... In fact, one of the things that I wasn't expecting the most is that everyone seems to have quite a good grasp on the condition, even if they don't quite understand all the nuances to it. So thank you for the participation. I'm sorry if I missed anybody's points out. I tried to include them all, but I may have missed one or two, I'm not entirely sure. So I might make some more videos like this in future if you enjoy it. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you later, bye!